Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, where we proudly provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Today's show is the Corner Bookstore, and we're coming to you at a different time. And Mr. Red O'Loughlin, the host of the show, is on holiday, so I am filling in for him, and we have an amazing guest today. Today, we're going to be talking about acceptance. We're going to be talking about second chances, opportunities. And our guest comes to us from our wonderful friend, Mickey Mickelson, and his team at Creative Edge. So we're so happy to have Holly B. Her name is Holly B. Gutwillinger. So she's going to come out and talk to us. She is an author, she's a podcaster, and she also has a debut novel that she's going to be talking about. Holly, please do join me. Hello, nice to have you.
It's so nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. So you're joining us today from Canada, is that correct?
That is correct, Northern Ontario.
And we just talked a little bit before the show began. I'm going to go zoom out. You're actually in a real space. That is not a virtual background. And I was amazed at how large that space was. You've got the fireplace going. And so this is a special place for you. So can you talk a little bit about where you are and what it means to you?
Yes, absolutely. My husband and I, we've lived in many remote places in Canada for work purposes. And this town is where I was born and raised. And so when we came back, our parents were going through some health issues, so we decided to purchase my childhood home. So my mother lives with us in the house, but it is a very small house. And we rebuilt the garage, but we extended it just a short bit so that I could have a working space. And so I call this my little shed now, and that's part of my branding, but it's a place for me to come to work during the day, but also to write and create and cuddle up on the couch with my dogs and my husband by the fire, especially on days like today.
Thank you for sharing that. I love hearing backstories because it really puts everything in perspective. And so when we're in an environment where we feel creative and we feel accepted and we feel loved, I think that we perform at a different level. And I know in my space here, I was flooded twice, and everything's remodeled. I've got a standing desk and I absolutely love it. I've got a great view. So thank you again, because it is really important to be able to have surroundings. So you also mentioned your dog, and the title of our show today is Second Acts, Rescue Dogs, and Mutual Acceptance. So tell us the part about the rescue dogs.
Gosh, there's so much. I could be here for hours telling you about the dogs. Who doesn't love to talk about their dogs, right? I've always had dogs. And for these two guys in particular, they came to us approximately 10 years ago. And so we've been trying to help them work through a lot of their issues and anxieties all throughout these years. And I've been always trying to fix them, as many of us do. One day, a few years ago, Sully was sort of bouncing towards me along the patio stones, and his ears were flopping and his tail was wagging, which is unusual for him because he doesn't usually approach people, not even me, for a long period of time. I get a little bit of snuggle time, but not much. So on that day, he was walking towards me, and I don't know, a poem downloaded into my thoughts in his voice. And it was, I'm okay. Like, just accept me for who I am, like I have for you, and we'll be fine. You don't need to fix me. So from that day on, this is where this story began. And I kept creating more poems and stanzas in my head, which turned into scenes and then chapters. And honestly, it's hard to believe that I'm sitting here talking about a book that I wrote, but my dog was the conduit and he gave me this story. It was a gift because once I wrote the story in its entirety, I reevaluated my relationship with my rescue dogs, and I no longer was trying to fix them, but rather it became a complete relationship of acceptance because they both have a lot of issues. One is more aggressive, one is so broken, he's scared of everything. And now that I've accepted them for who they are, we just live in harmony. And not to say that I'm not a responsible dog owner, and they do have behavioral issues at times. Well, one does, Cash, but he's older now, so he's a lot more mellow, but he did when we first had him. And if you read the book, you'll see the stories are real. So the 2 dogs in the book are actually my dogs, but it's a work of fiction.
What a beautiful story about acceptance, because I really feel as a peace ambassador that if we were to just accept people as they are instead of trying to fix them or control them or get them to think like us. So the book you're talking about is North of Broken and Furever Home. So you just shared that the dogs in there, the 2 dogs are actually yours. And so I would imagine that they also accept you, right? It's mutual. You accept them and they accept you because they could be in a different home as well. What does that feel like? Because as someone who also loves dogs, there is that feeling of unconditional love, regardless of what the dog looks like. It's how the dog treats us. So what is that feeling like for you?
I mean, our relationship is so different now that I have come to this place of acceptance. And whereas Sully really wouldn't approach us much before, me more than my husband, but even that was very little. You'd give him a couple of scratches behind the ear and then he'd jump back. It's different now. And in the morning, it's almost like he looks forward to our time together. He sleeps on the opposite floor from where we are. And in the morning, we have strict cuddle time. And he just burrows his head into my hair. And we just lay there together, just in each other's presence. There's no goal, just being in each other's presence. And I don't know, we just never had that before. And I'm so grateful for it. And he allows me just a little bit more time than he used to, which is quite nice.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And I want to get into the term rambling, because rambling can be perceived in different ways, right? We can be rambling on and on and on. But when we're rambling and actually making a point or sharing something that's beautiful, that's a different kind of rambling. What does rambling mean to you? And again, we know where you are. You had shared that. But now that the book is available, I assume, is it available now or it's coming available?
Yes. No, it is. It released on Valentine's Day.
Congratulations, hot off the press.
Thank you.
So now that it is available, does rambling take a different meaning for you?
I came up with that concept because I always wanted to produce a podcast, but I was standing in the space of fear. And so I wouldn't allow myself to actually go ahead with it. And I asked my son to help me. And so we would practice often, and then I'd back away for fear. But I always found that I was rambling. You know, I come in here to ramble on a Substack post. I ramble on Instagram. And so for me, it was always these ramblings of sorts. And so I thought, wouldn't that be an interesting concept if it was just my son and I rambling? Well, now we're rambling from the little shed. He's in the city, Toronto, but I ramble from here. And so it just sort of developed into, I guess you would call it my brand. And it just stuck. I thought it was a cute name. I didn't know what else to call my little shed and what I was doing. And so I wanted it to be conversational. And so that is what my podcast is as well. And so we ramble on. And I thought, yes, you're right. Rambling could be taken with a negative context sometimes, like where you are rambling on, kind of like what I'm doing in the moment. But I look at it as a fun time. So it's conversation, it's rambles about different topics and subjects and whatever you want to talk about.
And I feel the truth is we all need to ramble, right? I know I live alone. I talk out loud all the time and I know I'm rambling, but I don't really care. I'm getting it out of my system. I'm putting it out into the universe. So you actually have a background in writing. Can you share more about that?
My background isn't extensive, but I do have somewhat of a background. I've always dabbled in uh, writing notes, letters, always from the heart, though. Never have I really invested in the craft of writing. So that is fairly new. And when I say new, I mean a few years. I am in a master's of fiction, a master's of fine arts in fiction currently, and I just finished a university certificate through the University of Toronto. So that's my background, but I would say that my authentic background is writing from the heart, and that's where my foundation is. And anytime that I stray away from that, I really do begin to ramble if I stray away from my authentic self. And so there's usually a lot of lovey-dovey, light and fluffy stories. Usually mixed in are a lot of dogs for sure. But yeah, that's kind of a little snippet on my background in writing.
Thank you, Holly. And what is your process when you are writing? Do you sit down and you actually physically type everything, or you write everything, or you talk into something? How do you do it?
All of those. I not only do I ramble, but I dabble. I like to when the moment hits me, I love to write in my notebooks. I have countless pens and notebooks like many writers do. I love to write in calligraphy. I love handwriting. I come from the generation of handwriting and printing, so that is a great love for me. But I also type when time is short and I need to just get something out. But lately, I've dabbled in recording my voice. So long rides are now my favorite. And I'm headed to the city tomorrow, which is 6 hours away. And I actually can't wait because I get to listen to all my favorite podcasts, but I also get to just kind of get lost in my thoughts, and I'll record my thoughts along the way. Or I'll stop on the side of the road and either just take a note down, but recording is definitely convenient when I'm driving.
And do you feel, in terms of your creative process, do you feel that you're a dog whisperer, meaning that you can communicate with your dogs, that they're actually giving you insights for the book?
I think the dog whispering comes from observing them. I had to laugh a few weeks ago. Someone said, "Gosh, you really have interpreted the dog's voice almost better than the human." And I said, "I'll take that as a compliment." Because I do spend a lot of time observing my dogs. And that came hand in hand with trying to help them, fix them all those years. But I will say in the last 3 years, I have spent so much time in the city of Toronto's dog parks, just sitting there and observing their behaviors, how they interact with one another. Not even for the purpose of this book, because again, like I said, this was so unexpected. It's just something I love to do. And, oftentimes my son and I, we'd grab a drink and we'd go sit on the bench and people would be like, "Well, which one is your dog?" And I'd say, "Oh, I don't really have one. I just really enjoy spending time here." It's meditative in a sense.
And we love that meditative quality. That's for sure. We all
Yeah.
need that. I just wanted to give a quick little shout out to my dogs. They all passed away, but
Oh,
they were really they were a big part of
oh,
my life. So I can relate to that. So
yeah.
you're also a podcaster. Tell us about your process and what type of guests do you typically interview?
This is such an exciting part of my life now, because now that I've stepped through that doorway of fear, it's not to say that I don't have those little inner thoughts sometimes. It's not a perfect world, but my son and I have created a space where we get to ramble, we get to talk about all the favorite things, but we also get to we have a conversation with guests. And so what we do is first we talk about their animal, their pet, and how they believe the pet influences their creative life or their life in general. Most people are creative, they just think they're not. And so we tend to pull that out of people. Once we feel like we've really covered everything about their pet, we move on to who they are as the creative individual, or what it is that they do. It doesn't mean that they have to be an author or an artist. We've been talking to people of all walks of life, chefs, traveling with dogs, like so many different backgrounds. And so we just have a conversation, 30-35 minutes, and I'm really enjoying that. And I'm enjoying spending the time with my son, because afterwards, we have our flannel shirts on and our favorite drink and our mug, and we just ramble on about the week for 5 or 10 minutes and talk about all the fun things, and I get to spend time with him. So I love every second.
What a beautiful way to create memories. I actually haven't interviewed anyone who was doing that with someone in their family. So congratulations on that.
He gets all the compliments for his deep voice.
So if someone wanted to be a guest on your podcast, how would they go about doing that?
Yes, they can definitely contact me at either the Instagram handle that I've provided or the website that I've provided as well. And I'd be happy to discuss an opportunity for someone to come on and have a conversation about how they think their animal influences their creativity.
Fantastic. And people who are watching, or if you're listening later on a podcast, will actually say what these destinations are, but you can find it in the show notes. So one thing that I find, regardless of who it is I'm talking to or where it is I go in life, is that we all feel the need to be heard. We want to feel like we are listened to and we are acknowledged. And I've always felt like that with my dogs. I've had a lot of dogs over the years, and I would feel like they were the only ones, aside from my mother, who was truly listening to me. And there's something about that, knowing that you actually have been heard, and that someone, whether they agreed with what you had to say or they had a completely different perspective, they held that space for you. And to me, it sounds like that's what you're doing through your work. What do you feel about that?
I agree. When I sit in my dog's space, something shifts. I'm a high energy woman. I love to do as many things as I possibly can. I love having hobbies. But when I allow myself those moments to just sit beside my dogs, especially in the summer outside, in the gazebo, I just get to be at peace with them, and they calm me, they take me down a notch, and no words are spoken, but we are fully understanding each other. And because I've spent so much time with them, I know their moods. I know the cues. I even know their barks at this point and what they mean. And it's not because I can hear them speaking to me, but if you observe someone or an animal long enough, you learn to speak their language in a sense.
I totally agree with you. Absolutely. And I think also that when you are coming as a person, as a human collective, when we're coming from a place of joy and of love, and we hold that space for someone and we feel someone's energy, we can tell they're having a good day. They're not having a good day, but we give them grace.
Yes.
And I always feel like that's what animals do too. Like, you can tell if they're suffering, you can tell if they're not happy. They let us know. And people typically do too. But many times we just don't listen because we have our own agenda. So as a writer, when you're thinking about these things, how are you communicating a message to someone who may not be open? We may have people right now who are watching who are not dog lovers, right? But maybe there are messages of acceptance and hope that you can still convey regardless of what the medium is.
And I really did try to convey that when I was writing this novel. As it was a lot of time spent watching my dogs, observing them, watching how they move their ears, their tail, their eyes, especially for Sully, who is the main dog character in the book. He tells me so much through his eyes, whether he's showing me the whites of them or the way he moves them, the way he looks through the corner of his eyes. And so I think that if people take the time to sit with their pets and observe, listen in quiet, you'll get the messages that you need to hear. Maybe it's, it won't be in words, obviously, but it's just about listening and having that intuition instead of making commands towards your dog or trying to fix them. I think that it's important to just sit back and watch, and you'll be amazed at what comes out. Because I was amazed. I never, ever expected the information to download to me as it did for this novel. And it just sort of poured out of me. But I suppose it was all of that pent up information that I was holding on to for, over 10 years for both of them.
And something I want to touch on, Holly, I feel like when it comes to dogs, that there can be a lot of judgment. I've actually written a book about judgment. And so I live in a high rise and I see all kinds of dogs, small dogs, large dogs, and in the elevator, people will make comments. And I think whether it's a rescue or a designer dog, people still have judgments. So it's kind of like no matter which way you decide to go, you can be judged. So what would you say to someone if they are judging people who are getting rescue dogs? Because people in their own minds, they have ideas of what they think should happen to a dog that doesn't have a proper home, so to speak, or has been rehomed, or a lot of these judgmental phrases that people might put out there. And then on the other side, you have people who only want the designer dogs who are going to look a certain way and be and are guaranteed allegedly perfect health. So what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, everyone is entitled to their opinion, I suppose, but rescue dogs never asked to be in that position in the first place. And it's just like homeless people. I mean, it's not a choice. It's a situation. And so why wouldn't you want to help someone or an animal that is in need, whatever that means to you? Writing this book and donating part of the proceeds is my way to give back, but also rescuing shelter dogs is also my way to give back. I wish I could rescue them all, but I can't. And it's difficult. I don't think I could work at a shelter, but I think that sometimes people are, especially online, we have these keyboard warriors, but I suppose I've been guilty of making judgments of people who have these boutique dogs, especially in the city. But that has slowly shifted, and I will admit that the city dogs are some of the best behaved dogs I have ever met. And I think deep down, people just want to have companionship. And so whether they get, the $5,000 dog or the $250 shelter dog, there's no judgment. That's a person's choice. But there are a lot of animals who are in need of a home. And, if we continue to support breeders who bring in more and more animals into the world, I mean, it's someone's choice. I can't prevent anyone from doing that. I would recommend a shelter and a rescue dog all the time. I mean, mutts, I guess, if you would like to, there's probably a better term, but they tend to have less health issues. They live longer, and they have very unique personalities and traits, physical traits. Whereas, designer dogs, they're beautiful. Absolutely. They all have personalities, but they do tend to be similar. I don't know if that really answered your question, but
Yeah, no, it definitely did. And I think you brought up something that's really important, is that the dogs didn't ask for whatever the fate was that they ended up having. And it was even during the pandemic or when there are natural disasters, you hear stories about people abandoning their dogs. And I think it was just today I read something. And by the way, anytime I read something, I don't know if it's actually true or not, so I take it with a grain of salt. But I saw there was a woman at a ticket counter and she couldn't bring a rescue dog on, so allegedly she just left the dog. I don't know if it's true or not. But so my question is, when a dog is abandoned, have you ever thought, like, I wonder what kind of feelings and emotions are they processing? One of my dogs that I showed you, she was beaten and she had a broken kneecap before I got her. And so she would growl at men. And so I assumed, whether it was correct or not, that maybe it was a male who beat her. But I thought, she's pretty sharp. Like she knows that something bad happened to her. And yet she's still putting on a happy face, except when she would see certain men that maybe, I don't know, I'm just reading into it. But they all are alive. They have a right to be here. And so dogs have a certain shelf life, just like people, right? We're here for a certain amount of time. So my question for you is, I've heard people say, you know what, I had a dog, it was my best friend, it passed away. I can't imagine getting another one. So how do we as humans deal with the fact that this wonderful family member will not be here after a certain amount of time? And we put so much love and we've gotten so much acceptance and love back. What are your thoughts on that?
It's so ironic that you asked me this question because I was having, pardon me, the exact same conversation this morning with someone else. And I was asking the question because so often I've run into people who have lost their pet and they say, never again. I'm never getting another pet. And I've thought it as well when I've lost a dog. I've had dogs my entire life. And then I say, but why wouldn't you want to have the years of happiness or the ability to help a dog that is in need and needs a home? I think we can we can all agree that our relationships with dogs have evolved significantly in the last 10 years from what it was before. We treat the dogs and the cats very differently. I mean, there are both ends of the spectrum on that as well, and that's a whole other conversation. But personally, I think that it's important to grieve the loss of your pet and not to jump in the next day and get another one, but to really sit in the grief. Now, I may not have been able to say that quite some time ago, but I've grown. And as I get older, I value things differently. My 2 dogs are aging. I know that our years are limited. Their faces are white and we think they're 12, but we're not sure. One of them has some health issues with seizures. But I think that now, with the experience I've just gone through with writing the book, I live my life differently with my dogs. And I appreciate every moment I have with them. But I think it's important to grieve and allow yourself the time to go through those feelings. Be sad, wallow in it, but know that there will come a time when you'll be on the other side of it. Not that you'll ever forget your animal or your pet, not that you won't ever be sad, but the memories will shift from pain and sadness to remembering them with love in your heart. That's how I feel. So I think, when these 2 boys leave me, I will get another dog. There's no doubt. My husband is already prepared. But it's not because I need to try and replace them specifically. It's because of what they bring to my life. And I can help one of them as well.
Makes perfect sense. It's all about that acceptance, but also honoring the life that you shared together. I think that's so important. And I know for me, I thought many times about getting another dog, but then I think, is it really fair? Because I am in a high rise. So I don't know. I know dogs need places to run and be with other dogs. And so I don't know if it would be fair to the dog. So I'm thinking about it very seriously. And I think that's also important, that I've heard people say, oh, for this holiday, we're going to get our kids a dog. But they never actually walk through who's taking care of the dog, what that looks like, the fact that the dog hopefully is going to live maybe 20 years. And what does that look like? And so I also think that that's important, that we take it as a real responsibility that you're caring for another life.
I agree. I mean, just being in the city every now and again where my son lives in Toronto, I'm shocked that the dogs that come out of high-rise buildings, I'm talking huskies and full coated dogs. And I think that's probably where the judgment comes out in me. I never say anything to the owner, but secretly inside, I'm thinking, oh, are you okay in that apartment? I mean, I'm sure the dog is having a great life. It's just, we do tend to think about these things, right? And where dogs are situated. But again, they are some of the most well-behaved dogs I've ever seen. And there are so many dogs in the city and so many dog parks, and they all tend to get along. So I have to think in my heart that they are well taken care of. And going from the 26th floor down to ground level for, their business, well,
That's pretty good that they can hold it that long. That's for sure. Absolutely. So let's really dive into your book. First of all, where can people buy it?
Just about everywhere. I am listed with all of the retailers, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Here in Canada, it's Indigo. And yeah, I mean, all of those carriers, it's on Kindle as well.
And for people who are not able to see the screen because they're later listening to this on a podcast, I love the way that you spelled forever,
Thank you.
Furever. So the name of your debut novel is North of Broken and Forever Home.
Yes.
How did you come up with this title?
So this title was a second choice. I had started out with a working title. That is one of my processes in writing, is that no matter what I write, whether it's an article or a poem, it has to start with a title. So it was completely different. But as I progressed, I felt like it just wasn't applicable anymore. And my husband and I, we take long walks with the dogs in the forest. And I thought, oh, well, let's brainstorm. So we did. And I remember when I adopted Sully, we got Sully to keep Cash company. But when we adopted him from the shelter, the woman said, Sully will be perfect for him. He's so broken. He will never react. And I thought, oh, that's just so sad. And I guess when we were walking, I remembered that. And I thought, he's still broken, as we all are, just a tiny bit. But he's north of it now. Like, he's not as broken. And so the North of Broken comes from there. And the Forever Home, well, that's just because they have their forever home here with me and my husband.
That's so beautiful. Absolutely. And on a future episode, we'll actually have you read from your book.
Oh.
But what would you like people to take away from reading it?
I am asking readers to set aside their judgment, right? Because one of the dogs, well, Sully, has a voice in this book. So first of all, just have fun with it. But second of all, most people will think that it's a rescue story. And I suppose it is, in a sense, and it was in the beginning. But I would say that it's no longer that, and that it turned into a story of acceptance. Because my dogs initially accepted me. From day one, they accepted me. With all of my quirks and Holly-isms, they accepted me 100%. They never judged me. They loved me. And I needed to do the same, but I just didn't know it. It took a long time for me to realize it, but if we just learn to accept one another, whether that's humans or animals, then we can live more cohesively. So I would really like readers to keep that in mind.
What a great message. I absolutely love this, because we are all broken in some way and we are on a journey. And some people are more open to the journey than others. And some people are shifting into a different dimension, which we're not going to talk about that right now. But tell us about your book cover. How did you decide on this and what does it represent?
Again, like the titles, I get these visions of what I think something should look like, and things appear to me in images in movies. And I knew that I wanted to incorporate the Northern Ontario forest, and I wanted it to be with Sully, me walking with him, because initially the story was it was my story. And as I gave him a voice and I recreated his rescue story, I fictionalized the story. But the woman on the cover is not necessarily me. Our hair color is slightly different. But it's a woman who's, she's 47 years old. So she does have a lot of my traits. And I'm a little bit older than her. But I just thought, that walking away together along the path, that's something that I do with my dogs so often. And I know that I don't know if you're able to click on the back cover, but if you are, I would just love to show the listeners and readers, the viewers, I'm sorry, you can see a little wee dog there hidden. And that's the incorporation of my other dog, Cash. Johnny Cash is his name. You can barely see it, but when you do have the physical book, he's in there.
Okay, so keep an eye out for that, viewers. Fantastic. So, Holly, what's next for you when it comes to writing? Obviously, your book just came out, so you're still hopefully basking in the glow of releasing it. So, what do you have coming up for for your next agenda item?
When my friend said post-launch mood is real, it is real. It's been 1 week. I slept for 2 days after the launch because I was in a smiling hangover, of seeing everyone in my community. And, but of course, the wheels were turning, and they have been for some time. I've been working on another story. It is a meet cute in the dog park, and I cannot wait for it to come together. I do have a first full draft together, and it should be out same time next year, I'm hoping.
Fantastic. Do you have any plans to do an audiobook?
I would love to, but I just don't know if it's feasible at this point. I mean, I am self-published. I had to learn every step of the way to where I'm sitting now, and I've loved every moment of it, but I would love, love, love to do an audiobook. I would love for my son and I to narrate. I'm just not sure how to engineer it all together and produce it. Yeah, but maybe one day.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet myself, but I know that through Amazon KDP that AI does do it, and you can pick from different voices. So a number of my books are available for audio only through artificial intelligence. But if you want to do it with your own voices,
Right.
then that's a different story.
Yeah, I mean, it's another dream, right? We'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to share for our viewers, I want to bring up your website. And then I also want to talk about call out for submissions. The website here is ramblings with an S from thelittleshed.com, and you can find it there in the show notes. So what would you like people to take away from your website? Where do you want them to go?
Well, this is all new to me as well. That when you become an author, a self-published author, you become everything. And so I do consider myself an entrepreneur at this point. I created the website to have a landing page where I could share my book with people, share who I am, but also I do have, I can see something's not working. I need to check my website apparently. But I do have plans in the future. I would love to create anthologies where people share their stories with me, and then I can publish those books hopefully one day, and we can raise more money for the shelters. Currently, I've put out a video on TikTok, which is so foreign to me, but where share your dog's name with me in a little story as to why you think your dog should be in my next novel, and I'll give them a little cameo. So those are the types of things that I would love to do and share with people who read my books, and just with people in general. I would love to mentor people in the beginnings of writing, as I wished I would have had someone in my beginnings. I do have so many plans, and we'll see how many. There's just not enough hours in the day.
It's very true. Well, I have to give you a lot of credit because I've interviewed a lot of authors over the years, and it is really important to have a website. People don't realize it because, as you mentioned, you are an entrepreneur, and people will want to get to know you and they want more information, and especially as a podcaster. So congratulations to you for having a website. It looks great, and there's a lot of good information there. So as we close out the show, a couple of things. The first thing is I'm going to spotlight you. What is your key message for people to take away from today's show?
Do the things you love and love the things you do. Accept your dogs for who they are as they accept you, and find joy and happiness in the things that you do, because I struggled. I searched for something to do, and I didn't realize that writing was home for me. I always loved it, but I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think I had the ability, but we all do. It's just a matter of developing it. And writing is definitely where my heart is.
What a beautiful message. Thank you. And I'd like to just add one thing to that, which is many times when we are living our dream or we have these creative ideas, other people want to shut us down, especially on social media.
Yes.
And so I don't pay any mind to people with negative comments or negativity in broadcasting. Sometimes people will put negative comments. I just give them grace, grace for you to find what it is that brings you joy. Because when we have found it, other people are thinking, you know what, I don't know what I like to do, but look how happy they are. So I'm very happy for you, Holly B. And I really appreciate you being here. We do have also your Instagram that people can follow you. Let's bring that up.
I have a lot of fun on Instagram. It started out as random hearts and still is. When I find random hearts, they make their way onto the page. But now, of course, there's some dogs on there and some fun stuff. I have so much fun with Instagram.
That's beautiful. And there, for people who want to join you on Instagram, we're going to put up your link. But what is it for the people listening on a podcast platform later?
It is at rambling_from_the little shed. I suppose it's an underscore between each word. So.
Okay, there you go. There you have it. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here, Holly, and congratulations on your debut novel. We look forward to seeing you again in the future.
You are such a wonderful host. Thank you so much. This was such a nice conversation, and I just felt at ease and comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, and enjoy that warm weather and your beautiful animals.
I will.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Thank you, everyone. Wherever it is that you're watching in the world, we are streaming live on many destinations. I'd like to ask you, as I bring up this graphic, please do consider going over to our YouTube channels. We've earned the YouTube Silver Creator Award for over 100,000 subscribers on USA Global TV and Radio. It's actually right next to me here on my desk. And also Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, which we came out with a couple of years later. So that's where I would love for you to go, because we get real information from YouTube about who's watching and how long they're watching, where they're watching from. So we currently are in 3 languages, French, English, and German. And we have over 60 shows. So if you'd like to be a guest, go to our website, usaglobaltv.com. Now we're going to go over to our sponsors, and we'll be back with our next show. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.
In a noisy world, true connection begins with listening. Elevated listening transforms every conversation in just 5 simple steps. Pause and breathe. Set your intention. Listen with curiosity. Reflect back. Agree on one next step. Join the Listening Mentor on Let's Finally Talk with Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, the Listening Mentor, where we help you find inner peace, one conversation at a time. Streaming every day, Let's Finally Talk TV show with Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, only here on USA Global TV and Radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channels to watch and engage with all our content.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to TracyCramPerkins.com. Tracy Cram Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, We're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.